Welcome, audience. We're back here, EarthX 2025, and we're fortunate enough to be here with Chip Keating. Chip, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, you've been here at EarthX for a little bit.
I have.
Friends with Mr. Trammell S. Crow.
I am.
Tell me what your thoughts are, just big picture, EarthX. What does it mean to you?
Well, you know, Trammell was nice enough to have us to Vail a couple months ago, and we instantly connected around my love and passion of land management and wildlife conservation.
So, little birdie told me you've got something fun to show our friends here. And,
I do.
I don't know what you're going to show us. So why don't you show us?
We'll look over the screen here, and this is Trammell out at our ranch in Oklahoma City about a month and a half ago with a flamethrower.
I love it. Now, what were you guys doing out there?
Well, so Trammell, we were with a group in Vail 2.5 months or so ago, and we started talking about land management on the heels of the fires in California that we all witnessed. And Trammell and I at lunch, just getting small talk, getting to know one another. What are kind of my passions? He was explaining EarthX, and I told him that prescribed burning, for habitat management, for fire risk mitigation, just the benefits in general, and we instantly hit it off. And so Trammell and crew, I invited them to host them at our ranch in outside of Oklahoma City, which was about 6 weeks ago, to talk about the need to really educate more of the public around the effectiveness of doing prescribed burning, how to do it safely, how it mitigates wildfire risk. He stayed with us for a couple nights. We were burning some piles. We had already,
as we can see,
as you can see, with a flamethrower. And then, I think what's relevant for being here on this podium today is about 2 weeks after Trammell left, the northeast part of Oklahoma City suffered a major wildfire that destroyed 70 homes. Burned about 70,000 acres in northeast Oklahoma City, and believe it or not, it hit our ranch, but it didn't get on our ranch. And so our ranch almost was a donut hole, which is just under 2,000 acres, and it burned all the way around it and destroyed structures and, frankly, trees, and it was decimating. So I think the conversation piece out on the heels of what had happened in California earlier this year, what's going on in New Jersey right now, wildfires are real. Unfortunately, they're preventable. Fortunately, they are preventable, but unfortunately, there's a lot of things we have not done from a management tool perspective to mitigate them.
Now, I want to ask you about that. Now, a lot of people, EarthX, come to these conferences. They know the situation with the fuel that's, causes the fires and everything. But for, somebody who doesn't know, they may think, they hear fire outside, flamethrowers, they may think, that's bad. Tell us why, in the right situations, under the right circumstances, that's actually a good thing.
Well, absolutely, and various climates and various areas of the country have different times for wildfire risk. In Oklahoma, March is always a very high-risk fire time in our state because the humidities are very low, the winds are very high, and everything's very dry. And so what we do at our ranch, and my father's here with me as well, and he knows it's a passion of mine, we burn every single year. We burn every square inch of our ranch, but we burn it in times of the year that are conducive to do it safely. You have to have fire breaks up, you've got to watch the weather, the wind's got to be right, the humidities have to be right, a lot of elements. And so I would consider myself a subject matter expert doing it because I'm so passionate about it. But what really the benefit beyond wildfire mitigation and risk is what it does for wildlife, what it does for the native grasses, what it does for the invasive grass species. It's a very effective management tool that I've learned all about. And so I'm very, and in Oklahoma, we have 3 invasive plant species that are not native at our state. One is eastern red cedar trees, and they are explosively, they explode in wildfires, and that's what happened in March. a month ago. And so we have made it a priority of ours to get rid of all the cedar trees on our property. We've made it a priority to get rid of the invasive grasses, which is Sericea lespidosa and Johnson grass. And so when you put fire on the ground, you're putting nitrogen back in the ground, and you're reactivating native seed beds that are really beneficial for ground nesting birds, for wildlife, and really the ecosystem. And so it's a very effective tool for managing land.
Okay, you said you're a subject matter expert on the subject, so I'm gonna test you here.
Yep.
Let's go beyond Oklahoma. What were causing some of the problems that we're seeing specifically in the West with land management or the lack thereof? What set the stage for what we've been witnessing the past few months?
Well, honestly, we used to, as a nation, let's go back beyond a few months.
Yes.
The reality is the largest prairie grass in the country, and it's still the tallgrass prairie in Oklahoma. It used to span from Texas to Minnesota. In Oklahoma, the tallgrass prairie is preserved now. It's a 40,000 acre prairie. Through conservation, it's the largest prairie grass reserve in the world, but it's because it's managed right. If you think back 200 years ago, before really civilization was everywhere, our country was on fire all the time. And Native Americans learned how beneficial it was to burn for the land way back before modernized civilization came around. So I think what's happened, and people are afraid of it, right? And so there's an educational component around burning safely and responsibly that we as a country and as a state need to start looking at. In California, and I don't want to just point the finger at California.
Absolutely.
We've had it in New Jersey. We just had it
Absolutely.
in Oklahoma. It's not a political issue. It's just common sense. And for whatever reason, we've gotten away from doing burning to burn down shrubs and down debris and fuel that's on the ground. So when those perfect conditions flare up, all you're doing is put that fuel on the ground is making things impossible to get under control. And then we see what happens. We lose properties, we lose lives, and they become a really big problem. And I think this year, especially with New Jersey, California, Oklahoma, hopefully this is a time that I know we're doing it as a state in Oklahoma, and I'm really playing a part in it. And we've created a task force to really study this. And what can we do to, do more to prevent this? We could probably start with going after, in Oklahoma, eastern red cedars. They are a major problem. They are not a native species to Oklahoma. They are highly destructive to the landscape of Oklahoma. They're a wildfire hazard, but they're expensive to remove. Native eastern red cedars take up about 8 million acres in the state of Oklahoma, and it's expanding 300,000 acres per year. So if we don't do something to slow that progress, the state's going to be overrun with something that is a fire hazard. And so I think people are waking up today after the events that we experienced in March and wanting to see what we can do and do more on it.
So let's talk about benefits. You've mentioned a few, but I'd like to kind of almost bullet point them. Some of the benefits.
I'm going to put some of them up for you.
Let's do that. There we go.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the benefits, prescribed burns, land management, and kind of just nuts and bolts for, again, people that, I grew up, hey, any fire, put it out.
Right.
And as you said, the Native Americans, they knew better. Things need to burn. What are some of the benefits of those prescribed burns?
Wildfire mitigation being number one. That's obvious. And I'll show a video in a second of our ranch in this fire that came through. And you can directly see, if you manage the land, and you'll see unmanaged land next to it, that the fire went through. The benefits are saving lives, saving property. But the benefits, you don't want a hot fire coming through because it's going to kill all your hardwoods. You don't want your hardwoods to be killed. You want your invasive grasses killed. So the benefits are when you burn, and the nitrogen that you're putting back into the soil on the heels of a burn, the food poundage per acre for your nesting birds, for your mammals, for all your habitat exponentially goes up. Predation, which is, predators are very hard on nesting birds in Oklahoma, turkey, quail, chucker, the birds that we want. The predators have more ambush opportunities when things get overrun. Those birds have a survivability problem. And so the burning helps keep the down litter so that honestly your birds and your mammals that you want to thrive have a much better chance to thrive. And so we as a country, as I think about predation, 100 years ago we used to have a fur bearer trapping market and thinks about the raccoons and things. We use those furs, and there was a trapping industry out there. Well, largely there isn't one today. And so those predator animals have just exploded in our state, and we call those nest raiders. And they go and destroy all your nests, and so they decimate quail population, they decimate turkey population, and so it really takes the ecosystem out of balance if you're not putting fire on the ground. The other benefit fire does is it brings a canopy up in your forests. And so when you bring your canopy up in your forest and allow sunlight down, it reactivates native grasses to reemerge and grow on the forest floor. So there are a number of benefits. And it makes your land look beautiful.
So I'm watching this, and I'm hearing you say, yeah, fire, let's go burn something. But you don't just run out and just take a flamethrower and just kind of have a little bit of fun. But for somebody who's watching this, what's a takeaway that they can apply, just...
And depending where you live, and in Oklahoma, and all states have them, there are burn associations, and you can join those associations and learn. And you need to be educated because there's liability when you put fire on the ground. You own the fire, at least in Oklahoma, and it varies state by state. But to start and to learn how to burn, you have to control what you're burning. There's a difference between a prescribed burn and a wildfire. And if you're not doing it right, you're going to create a wildfire inadvertently through a prescribed burn. So you have to have burn breaks up. You have to know what the weather's doing. You need to know how to light the fire. You can't just go light it anywhere on where you're going to start it. You want to back burn first before you start a head fire. And I've got some diagrams that I'm going to run through, and I've got some slides up here for the audience to see around the benefits, and I'll share this presentation. But it is very important that you're educated on how to do this before you go do it. But there are a lot of people that do this and all over the country, and not just in Oklahoma, but I think at least in Oklahoma, people have really, they woke up and know that this is an issue. I mean, this big fire that just hit in Oklahoma was really in Oklahoma City. And so we're not agnostic to the risks of this, and it just didn't happen in rural Oklahoma. And the same day that this burned, and you'll see a video in just a second, the wind speeds were 70 miles an hour and the humidities were 8%. And there's just no way to be able to stop a fire like that when it's moving that quickly. And that's why we saw the destruction we saw. And it went into northern Oklahoma, and it burned 300 homes down in Stillwater, where Oklahoma State University is. And so I think the general public woke up, I would hope, at least in Oklahoma. But we can't, now's not the time to think that's a thing of the past. We've got to just it's active management. And there are organizations, at least in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma State University Ag Extension will help with this. There's publications on it. The Noble Foundation is a great conservation group in Oklahoma that will help with this. And I would encourage, that's how I got into it. I self-educated myself. I started going to these classes around the state because I really care about the land. I care about our ranch for our kids and their kids and their kids. And if we don't do anything about it, we won't have this in the future. So this video is a video of what occurred a month and a half ago in Oklahoma. And see, these are cedar trees that we talked about. That's what one of them looks like. The other thing I didn't talk about cedar trees, the benefit to the groundwater. A mature eastern red cedar tree drinks 40 gallons of groundwater per acre per day. And so they drink a ton of water, and that deprives all of your hardwood trees from the water that they need. And so now you'll see, this is actually out at our ranch, and you'll see an aerial drone of where this fire burned and where it did not burn, right down the fence line. So on your right of the screen are unmanaged lands, and on the left are managed lands. And again, this fire destroyed 70 homes. just the Luther fire, they called it, and it burned 70,000 acres.
That's phenomenal.
And so you'll see to the right of the screen is one of the homes that burned down. And so fire just tracked right down this burn break as that road, and it never came over on our ranch.
Just stopped right there.
And then burned everything to the ground in its
That's just proof
site.
right there that
It works.
land management. Well, thank you for showing that to us. And anything else in here you want to go through?
Yeah, I was going to show, this is this slide, and I'll share this with anybody who'd like to see it, but going back to how do you do this, this is how you do it in a nutshell. Wind, humidity, air temperature are all factors when to burn. So it's a good diagram of how you go about a burn. Always keeping in mind you got to have burn breaks to do it safely. This video here shows a control burn that we did that is sped up, and it shows you real time how quickly this happens. So this is a time-lapse video. And this is a prescribed burn. This is not a wildfire. This was under control the whole time we did it.
And one more time, the reason for doing this.
For the main thing, all the benefits to the wildlife, for the grasses, native grasses, for the nitrogen in the soil, wildfire mitigation risk. They go on and on and on.
Very good. I have a question. How do I get invited to
A control burn?
a flamethrower?
A flamethrower?
Come on, man, that looked fun.
Well, you're invited anytime. You come up anytime you want, and we'll burn some piles and show you how to do a control burn.
Is there anything else you want to talk about that I haven't asked you about?
No, I'd share my number, encourage people to get involved if they love land management, because we all make a difference if we do this and do it together.
If anybody out there wants to know how to find out more about this, what do you recommend them watching?
There's a lot of good materials online. I think one of the best is the Noble Foundation. They are out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. They're a big proponent. I don't do it. There are benefits for livestock management for ranchers as well. We don't run livestock on a ranch, so you can understand the benefits of the livestock side of it as well through the Noble Foundation. We do it for the habitat management, but I'd point people to the Noble Foundation because it is, I think, one of the foremost leaders in wildlife conservation, and they're in Ardmore, Oklahoma, an hour and a half north of here. And they put on free clinics for all kinds of conservation and management that the general public can go to.
Mr. Keating, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Great job. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Learned a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.